Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, a familiar face takes us on quite an adventure.
I do believe alligators are misunderstood.
This well-known Gator Boy is embarking on a new journey, hoping to bring you closer to these prehistoric reptiles. From a critically endangered species to a group of gators who teach us a lesson.
This is one of the main reasons why an alligator would be killed and put down, in the wild, is from people feeding that animal.
We're meeting a cast of characters that might make you take a step back from your screen. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Jimmy Riffle is no stranger to reality television. The alligator wrestler is known for his part on the Animal Planet show, Gator Boys. The show is no longer in production, but still available on platforms like Amazon Prime. We caught up with Mr. Riffle recently at his home in Central Florida, where he and his family are hard at work, hoping to make a new dream come true. One that involves education and, of course, alligators. Let us introduce you to scales, tails, and teeth. Jimmy, we're out here in this magnificent area. We're in Anthony, Florida, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
We still are in Florida.
We
right?
are. We are. Yep.
But you have quite a history. I was used to watching you on television. Tell us about that experience for you.
Gator Boys was very exciting. It was a big part of my life, especially my later part of life. And, we had the opportunity to share at a national level our passion that we had for, what a lot of people are feared of is the American alligator. And we got to show people that they're not the man-eaters everybody thought they were. And, we rescued these animals and donate them to zoos and sanctuaries. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to take in animals like that nobody wants to take in, that doesn't have a place to go. So it was a pretty cool time, that I lived.
Never missed a show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
But it just seems like you went from excitement and crazy and wild to this wonderful sedate environment. So tell us about what you're doing here.
Okay, yeah, so like you said, we're in Anthony, Florida. We're just out of Ocala. We're basically, Scales, Tails, and Teeth Wildlife Park is going to be a safe haven and home to many exotic animals, ranging from reptiles to different type of mammals. We're going to have tortoises and turtles and snakes and crocodiles and alligators and foxes and lemurs. We're just going to have a big variety of animals, but like I said, we're going to be that safe haven for these animals.
What made you decide to do this? We know that the Gator Boys was a huge success, and then you went out on the road and you took your program out on the road, but now you're back here doing this. And which is more rewarding?
Gator Boys was very rewarding in the sense to where when you have a 5-year-old come up to you and tell you that you're their hero, and I mean I never thought I'd hear those words from anybody. So it's a big responsibility to take that on, when kids are looking up to you. And with this, I'm hoping that we can, the next generation and generation after that, this will be a small, it's not on 100 acres. We're a 5-acre facility, and we just want to be very personal. We want to have conversations like you and I are having now, and, walk around and have one-on-one time, and you get up close personal with these animals. You can practically feel the alligator breathing on you. You don't get that at a multi-million-dollar facility. His name is Big Boy. Come. You can trust to a point. Right now he's in feeding mode. I wouldn't turn my back on him because he's in feeding mode. But before I got him in feeding mode, I would come in here and not pay attention to him. Come. Oh, you gave it back to me. You coming for it? Come on.
my God, look at that head. Oh my God.
These alligators, they have lost their natural fear of man. And it's all because of being fed by people. And see, he's coming after this one. So once they lose that natural fear, then it becomes dangerous for people and that animal, that alligator. I do believe alligators are misunderstood. They are not the man-eaters that everybody makes them out to be. Right now, he has all the opportunity in the world to charge out at me and grab me. There'd be nothing I could do to get away from this animal at this moment. But he doesn't have that. He doesn't want to do that. You know, unfortunately, he has learned that I am food for him. So when I'm the one that gives him that food. Now, I'm not saying a mom alligator wouldn't chase you if she's protecting her babies. You know, a gator that's fed, yes, they may come after you, but they're not running after you at 30 miles an hour. Doesn't happen.
So they literally do not bite the hand that feeds them?
Oh, no, they do.
Oh, do?
Oh, they do. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I've been bit 11 times by alligators. I've been hospitalized. I've almost lost fingers, almost lost top part of my hand. But a lot of times it's our mistake. You know, I mean, if I was right now feeding him and my hand went into his mouth, him being in a feeding mode, chances are he's going to try to roll and take my hand. But it's not because he wants to take my hand. He thinks it's what I'm feeding him. I was very fortunate. My parents supported everything that I did. I had a fascination with animals my entire life. And then one day my mom and dad were driving past this small animal facility called the Native Village in Hollywood, Florida, which is no longer there. They shut down. She went in and find like artifacts and bones, like, cause I was at the age where I wanted to put this stuff together. I was so interested in it. Well, when she was in there getting this gator skull, she saw a couple young kids walk by. And all of a sudden, she's like, what are the kids doing here? He's like, we do a volunteer program. I was there 2 days later volunteering. I was very fortunate. I got to meet very important people in my life to this day. I mean, my fiance, Sara, I met her through the Native Village. So it's just crazy how the Native Village had an effect to where I would not be where I am now, and I wouldn't have met anybody that I've known now. So that's a big part of my life. So this angry badger, I've had this alligator for a very long time. He wakes up on the wrong side of the bed every morning, never in a good mood. But this particular alligator, I can take him anywhere in the country, and I can take him out and actually do feeding shows with this particular alligator. He'll eat for me anytime, any place, even on cooler weather when they shouldn't want to eat. He'll do it for me.
So he's a hungry boy.
Always.
But you know, it begs the question. Now, you're traveling across the country. We know that. And you travel with these guys. I mean, what do you do? Do you check them in to the motel or the hotel? What do? Bring them in with a leash? I mean, how do you work with this?
You laugh. Okay, so here you go. So I have taken alligators into hotel rooms. Haven't done it a lot, but I've done it a few times. Gators of his size, which he's about 9 feet.
Okay.
And needless to say, I'm no longer allowed at those hotels.
I have to ask you, did you ever put one in a bathtub?
Smaller alligators, yes, definitely. Definitely, we put them in bathtubs, and they're easy to get into hotel rooms. I still do that now. So.
So Jimmy, you've got, what is this, a gaggle, a pack? What is this?
This is a group of alligators. They're 4 to 5 feet in length. What I like to show in here, big example is, you know, when we were in with that big alligator, you know, nuisance alligators. You know, so a nuisance alligator is an alligator that's fed by people. So I'm gonna hand this to you for a minute. So right now you notice that they're really not coming over to me. They're not in a feeding response. Now this one's he's feeling it out. He's seeing if there's food involved. What I am gonna do, I'm gonna back him off in the water. So right now you notice no one's coming physically after us.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because they're not in feeding mode. But as soon as something that they're used to happening, you know, a food response, if I throw this in, you're gonna start seeing a different group of alligators here. And then you'll start seeing how they're gonna react now. Even though I'm not offering food right now, they know the food's coming from me. So you're gonna start seeing how they're gonna start coming to me. You know, and this is one of the main reasons why an alligator would be killed and put down, you know, in the wild, is from people feeding that animal. You know, once you feed an alligator, you basically sign that alligator's death warrant. You know, that alligator's just doing what they know. They're gonna come and just take food, but on the flip side, you're actually causing what we like to call a dangerous alligator, and then you're gonna cause that animal to be put down and killed. Florida law, if it's over 4 feet, they have to be terminated, unless they go to a place like us or other zoos or sanctuaries. These alligators were born in a zoo. So these alligators would never see the wild, even though they're under 4 feet. Now, if all these were caught by a trapper in the wild, they could be released back into the wild. Coming out to a place like this, or any nature facility in general, you know, you're getting away from those video games and your phones and technology. You know, go out and take a deep breath of fresh air, you know, get outside, do activities, go hiking, you know, go out and learn something, you know, especially when it revolves around our planet. And these animals that we have at this facility, a lot of them are native here to Florida, but then we also got reptiles from all different parts of the world. We have a Siamese crocodile. It's a critically endangered species from Indonesia. See if I throw one in her mouth. There we go.
Oh, there we go. And why are they so endangered?
A lot of times habitat loss, over poaching, you know, people kill them for their hides, you know, pollution. You know, there's a lot of different reasons why these crocodiles end up becoming endangered. And, you know, a lot of it is just due to pretty much humans. Mm-hmm. You know, our role always plays a factor in causing problems for most animals. And it's overabundance of processing that animal. We constantly want to build into their area, take more land, take more land. Well, in the process of doing that, these animals are losing that land. And then, you know, on the flip side, their food source starts disappearing. So when the food source disappears, they die off because they don't have food. So
we talk a lot about the ecosystem. Every one of these animals that you have here contribute in some way.
for sure, every animal here plays an important role. You know, these animals are in captivity, you know, and you know, that's maybe by choice or not by choice, but you know, in the wild, the foxes, they play a major role. You know, the lemurs, they're native to Madagascar, they play a role in Madagascar. So, you know, learning that information about what that animal does from what part of the continent or the world it's from, in my opinion, is well worth the time going out and doing something like this.
Jimmy hopes to be open to the public for scheduled tours sometime this year. For more information, you can follow them on their Facebook page and Instagram. In the meantime, we'd like to introduce you to Baloo, a lovable lemur that leaves quite an impression.
Well, Sara, you've got the most precious character, and he is a character on your shoulder. We know he's a lemur, and we love lemurs. It's Baloo.
Baloo, yes.
How old is he?
He's about 4.
So in lemur age, where is he? Is he still a kid? Is he a teenager? What is he?
I would say he's getting over his teenager years.
Now, what can you tell us about Baloo, and how did he find his way here?
Well, we actually got him from a different facility. They took him out of his troop to do some educational shows. And unfortunately, sometimes when you try to bring them back in, the troop no longer accepts them. So when they did that with him, he actually got beat up a bit. So they had to take him back out, and they were no longer able to put him together. So we happened to know the people of the facility, and we were able to get him for ourselves.
Now, there's been so much said about the tail, that they hang from the tail, that they do this, they do that, but it's really quite decorative. It's absolutely beautiful. Hi, Baloo. And does it serve a function? Is it balance? What is with that tail?
A lot of the times, that's actually to let other animals or people know. You'll see him, if there's another male around, he'll take his tail and he'll pull it under him, and he'll kind of just do this action with it. It's letting them know, I'm a male, back off.
Thank you.
It's just to let them know that he is a male. What are you doing? Do you want some grapes? You want some grapes? Yeah, I don't have them.
Baloo.
Marcia does. Come on.
Come on. Come on, sweetheart.
Look at.
Look at baby.
What's that?
So gentle. So very gentle.
Good boy.
We love these lemurs, and we've done a lot of stories about lemurs, but it always gets around to, can you have a lemur? Should you have a lemur? How big do they get? Are we looking at, as you point out, perhaps an adult lemur? And can an individual, such as myself, could I own a lemur?
I mean, technically, yes, you could. There are permits involved in that. You can't, no one could just go out and get a lemur. Should they? That depends on the person. A lot of people own animals that shouldn't. I don't think people understand that sometimes their bite, it's pretty bad. So people just think they're cute and friendly, and they see, what is that movie? The Madagascar movie, right? Is that what it is?
The Madagascar Story, yeah.
They just think, oh yeah, that would be fun to have one. Well, their bites are pretty ferocious, and you know, they do tend to pick people that they like and stick with them, so not everyone should own a lemur. He's a lot of fun. He's been good since we've had him. We've really kind of lucked out with him because we didn't have him as a baby. So I had to, you know, get that relationship with him when he was a little bit older, so you never know how it's going to turn out, but
Right.
he has been perfect. He
So-
is my little Bubba boy.
I understand, though, that he seems to favor women
Yes.
more than men.
Well, that's typical though in the lemur family. They do.
They are matriarchal.
Yes, exactly. Yes, women are the matriarchs. So for me, it was a little bit easier. Jimmy, he has to
Work his way.
exactly. Yes, it depends on the mood, but he's pretty good with everybody. We've been really fortunate with him.
But you still have to have a healthy respect. Because
Absolutely.
he is still a wild animal that has just hit it lucky.
We'll be right back.
I think something happened to my family. I'm scared and lonely. What's gonna happen to me now?
Don't worry, Sonny. Our loving staff at Dantes Den will take care of all your pet needs for the rest of your life. A warm bed, toys, great food, walking, and swimming is all at your paw tips. And if you get sick, there is even a hospital and medical staff to help you get well. Dantes Den, continuing the love.
So after all those alligators, we decided to explore a little more at Scales, Tails, and Teeth. And we were not disappointed. Take a look.
So what you're looking at now, these are two emus. They are native to Australia, and they get about 6 feet in height. They are the second largest bird on the planet. They are a flightless bird, so your largest flightless bird would be the ostrich, and then you have the emu, and then you have the cassowary after that. Emus can be dangerous. They have very powerful legs, very sharp claws on their feet, so you do got to be very, very careful when you're working around these animals. They all have different personalities, just like people. Big Bird is more standoffish, likes to stay away. Sydney is more social, wants to come up, you can pet, he'll drop to the ground and will like to hang out with you.
For more information on how you can help Jimmy and his family continue their mission, check out their social media pages. Stick around, we'll be right back with quite an interesting tortoise encounter.
Well, Troy, you bring us such interesting tortoises,
Thank you.
and we've got one right here.
We do. This is the Burmese brown mountain tortoise, which came from an area that used to be called Burma. We'll let your viewers do the history on that. This is an Asian tortoise that lives up in the mountains in Asia, and it's fourth largest species on the planet, one of the oldest dated back Chelonian species. So this tortoise goes back to really far back in the dinosaur era. But a couple interesting points about this animal here. They build a nest like a bird. So they go and they gather a bunch of stuff in their mouth, build this big pile, and then they lay their eggs in it, and then mom and dad guard the nest. It's pretty cool.
Is it a he?
This is a girl.
This is a girl.
She's
okay,
sorry.
so sorry about that. She was hissing a little bit. What is that noise? Because I do hear that from the tortoises that you.
Well, truthfully, she's just a big girl, and when she moves her body parts, everything has to tuck into this really cute shell. So sometimes she has to like let her breath out a little bit so she can move around because her lungs are expanded, so it's going to push out on the inside. So when you hear that little noise, she's just making room. But she's real cool. She never gets really scared. These are really friendly tortoises. They'll actually walk right up to you, follow you around the yard, and they come for goodies all the time. But she is just awesome. Burmese brown mountain tortoises or Burmese black mountain tortoises. Those are two locales, and they're just a beautiful animal, and they're really cool to have. And they're not very common. They're not a super common tortoise, but you can have them too. They're a little more on the rare side, but you can get them. So, like I said before, when you're taking care of tortoises, make sure you do their diet properly and give them plenty of room to walk around and a lot of enrichment.
You know, they have this protective shell, and we look at, boy, it is really hard.
Yes.
But out in the wild, could the shell ever get separated from the rest of their body? And if so, could they survive?
The only way their shell would be separated from their body is when they're already deceased. So that's going to be it right there, when the animal passes away. It's connected on the inside, and if you ever get to look up or look online, you'll see that there's a rib cage fused on the inside of the shell, and you'll see it in there. So this is actually part of their bone structure. So it's like fingernail. They can feel that. It doesn't hurt them. They can feel that. So when they get really big, a lot of people, I especially, will knock on the shell.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is when they're really big, you can't pick them up. And so if it gets really cold and you got to shift them into an area, you just tap them and they're like, okay, they want me to move. So it doesn't hurt the animal. You can see from petting it to knocking on it, it doesn't change the demeanor at all. So there's a lot of myths about the tortoise shell as well, that they can come out of it or turn around or climb into a new one. Absolutely false.
Now, if you do have one of these turtles as a pet, and we do know that through the pet trade, legally you can.
Yes, you can legally acquire Burmese
Okay.
brown. Yep.
What type of illnesses, and how do you even know if they get sick?
Well, there's a lot. Tortoises, they die about as long as they live. So, and what I mean by that is vet checkups. You definitely want to have blood work done. You want to have your vets take a look at your animals, x-rays, etc. Because an animal like this, like a tortoise, will die very slowly. And so one of the most common infections in most tortoises, it isn't too common with these, but in most tortoises, is a respiratory infection, like a common cold for us, which turns into, like, obviously pneumonia, and then they will die from that. So that's a very common disease, and that comes from being too cold or poor care.
I see. So they really need the hot weather.
Most tortoises, the Burmese brown tortoises, like cold weather. So you can go out at 48 degrees at my place, and they'll be in the pond relaxing. So these animals live up in the mountains in the cold mountain areas, and when it gets cold, that's when the love starts.
Well, she is adorable. Oh. Just adorable. And how old is she?
This one here is probably about 35 to 40 years old. Yep.
Honey, you're looking good.
All right.
Really good.
Looking good. You want to take a walk? All right. Let's go
See,
take
she
a walk.
liked that.
Yep. All right, go ahead. There you go.
Stay with us. There's more Animal Outtakes coming up next. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and more adventures. Until then, thanks for watching.
Here we are in Florida. Do they you threw-
You have to leave that in
Okay.
there. That's when you have to leave that.
You know, so I mean, it's just forgot your question, and
That's
I'm
okay, but
rambling.
that's okay.
Okay. Maybe you just want to walk that way. Yep. Just don't fall in.
You go first, Michelle. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
You can stand on there. I trust my building capabilities.
So if I'm one of your groupies, Jimmy, I better find out what room you're in, right? And who's in there. But this is amazing.
Well, you're in tough luck because normally we're in the same room.
I just backed myself into that corner.
You can come in with me with the camera. That's all
Like
right.
you
I
said,
haven't
this
lost
is
anybody in
exciting.
2 weeks. We're doing really good.
Don't
we'll
worry,
see.
I'll take care of your kids.